And we are live. Welcome to the Iron Lords podcast, episode number 32. And it's another glorious Sunday, and we are back at the round table on the Lord's Day. I'm extremely excited about our special guest, so we're going to get right into it. I want to introduce a Lord who I consider Xbox royalty, and whom I've had the pleasure of meeting at the flesh in my very first E3 in 2015. At the time, this Lord held on to one of the greatest technological secrets in Xbox gaming history, while smoothly speaking to me prior to the Microsoft press conference. No station. Despite his professional stature in the community, this Lord is extremely down to earth, personable, and it is always a pleasure bumping into him at each and every Microsoft event to discuss what we all know and love, these great games. Introducing the principal program manager lead and the pride of the Xbox platform team. The Lord directly responsible for ushering in Xbox 360 backward compatibility to the Xbox One, as well as the U.S. Marine / protector of the Xbox realm. The Great Wall himself, my man, Lord Bill Stillwell. How are we doing, sir?
Hey guys, how you doing? I don't know if I can live up to that intro. That was outstanding.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You are a Lord in your realm, and we have to show you the proper respect when you're at the round table. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for coming through. And of course, we have the usual suspects at the round table. My co-host with the co-most, my brother from another mother, and the howl of the young wolf, my man, Lord Addict. How are we doing, sir?
Pretty good. Just actually kind of have like that vibe that I want to play more Destiny 2, but business is business. Got to be on here.
Unfortunately, you got to do the show. I know you can't play your Destiny right now. I hear you. And of course, our most technical gaming lord, the solo gamer who lives for the single player selfish experience. You got to be always offline profile Illuminati now.
I was online yesterday.
Yeah, you were online. You were online yesterday. My man.
One day doesn't change the name.
My man, Lord Sovereign. How are we doing, sir?
Doing all right, man. It could be better. This whole situation in Puerto Rico is a little nuts.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bro.
I haven't been able to contact family since Wednesday, so it's tough, and even more so for my wife, because I mean her entire family's over there. So, just hoping for the best and waiting to hear some word.
I hear you, man. Yeah, thoughts and prayers to the fam, man. Yeah, that's got to be rough out there. I hear you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And of course, the excess gamer.
Ooh.
The Lord of Combat Sports, who is a man of his convictions and demands nothing less than the premium experience.
Ooh.
Beloved Lord King, how are we doing, sir?
We're doing fantastic. My thoughts and prayers go out to everyone in Puerto Rico. My grandmother's side is from Puerto Rico, and we heard from a couple of family members because they went to an adjacent town and was able to get word out that, everybody's okay. But switching gears, let's get into what I do. Boxing last night, Jose Linares versus Campbell yesterday. It was a fantastic fight.
You guys can't see this, but I'm totally rolling my eyes right now.
I know. Yeah, listen,
let's go. We gotta get the combat sports update.
I say you can roll your eyes all you like, brother, but it was fantastic last night. And also, you had the recap of Canelo versus Triple G, so you can actually see a robbery in progress. I needed to say this, and I don't normally do this, but shout out to Carmelo for getting out. Thank you, brother.
Are we talking about the Nick acquisition of the Nick moving to OKC?
Yes, okay. Carmelo Anthony has found his way to OKC. Thank the heavens for getting him there, because a talent such as that should not be wasted in an organization that is a cesspool. All right, let us go.
Oh my God. No doubt, of course. Look, that's Lord King giving us our sports update. And of course, it is Lord Cognito here, spreading that gaming realness on the ILP. Not telling you what you want to hear or what you need to hear. So before we get into what the Lords are playing, I want to start off with Lord Bill's his video game system history. I know we share that incredible 3DO experience, but I want to start from the beginning with him with that. I also want to talk about his ask him about his career journey at Microsoft of over 17 plus years, and of course his undeniable passion for the sport of hockey and those NHL games. So let's get from the beginning as far as your video game history, your first couple of systems, that kind of stuff, Lord Bill.
All right, let's start. So when you say go back to the beginning, I'm old, so we really get to go back to the beginning.
Let's do it.
Let's
OG
go.
talk.
Yeah,
When I
we're
say,
old.
when I say this, I remember the very first. So I've always had a video game system.
Mhm.
I got into computers when I was a kid. We had a Commodore VIC-20. We had a Texas Instruments.
Yes.
I had a Radio
Nice.
Shack TRS-80. But the very first game I actually played was a buddy of mine when I was still in, I think, junior high. Had a sleepover at his house. His dad was a scientist at one of the nuclear labs outside of Chicago, and they had an actual modem, the old 300 baud suction cup with the phone in, nobody could pick it up modem, and he had mainframe access at his house with it from a terminal. So I went over to Eric's house. We were playing, and he said, "I want to show you this cool game." So he puts the modem in, he dials into the mainframe, and he launches what effectively was Adventure or Zork, the
Oh.
game. But get this. It didn't even have a monitor on it. It had a dot matrix printer. So you'd hit,
Matrix,
you'd hit
taking it back.
enter, and then you'd print out. So you'd roll it up and you'd read what happened next. And then you'd get sword, and then you'd hit enter, and then you'd read what happened next. We played through the entire game. I have no idea what this costs in the lab, but we played through the entire game. And somewhere I still have this thick stack of dot matrix printer paper with the holes on the side.
With the holes on the side.
The whole thing just stacked. I'll have to dig it out one of these days.
Wow. That is classic. That's
I
classic.
think you officially win on the oldest game played because
For being the oldest person you've had on the show?
no, not the oldest person that we had on the show, just the oldest game. Like we go back and you know we say stuff like a Commodore or we say stuff like Amiga, but bro, you went there, you took it.
That's
All in the mainframes.
nice. So then where did the progression go from then after that? What was the next?
Well, you know, just like any kid growing up in that era, you know, there was always the family gaming system. Back when you had to slide the little thing on the back from TV to computer.
What is the RF adapter?
The RF adapter, yeah.
Yes, baby.
You get on channel 3.
Yes.
And then I will admit, and I feel shame over this. I was never a big Nintendo guy.
Really?
The one that hooked me the most was the Genesis.
My man Bill Stillwell. Look, give it up for Lord Bill Stillwell right now. I'm a Genesis kid too, so you warmed my heart when you said that.
And I mean, look, Mario's great, Link's great. They're great. They're great franchises, and they're a ton of fun. But we had by the time I got a little bit older, and went into the Marine Corps, we had a Genesis in our squad bay, and like you'd come back, and NBA and NHL were never out of that thing, and it didn't matter. You could come back off of patrol, and someone would be up. And someone would get ready to go to bed, and you just sit down and take their seat, and everybody played, you know, their city.
Yes.
And I just played that console so much, and because of the way, you know, and this is, I think, one of the great things about gaming is that you just bond with your friends over it, and the trash talking and everything that went on. And we played that thing and you'd cart it around with you because it's relatively indestructible compared to some today. Slap cartridges in, just keep playing wherever you went. And that was my real system. I got out of the Marine Corps and suddenly had money. And so, of course, what do? I go, what's the best game system you could buy? And that's when I bought the 3DO.
Let's talk about that.
Let's go.
I still love that system. And I love the idea of it. I had the opportunity to meet Trip Hawkins right after. Not much later after.
Me and Lord King met him too. We'll talk about
we
that.
we met that snake oil salesman.
Stop it. Let Lord Bill continue.
But no, I love the idea that, you know, you build a reference architecture. And I mean, if you think about how just computer systems work, somebody builds a set of component architecture, someone builds an operating system, and then everybody gets the party on it. And I know that the markets for gaming has shifted, and even within PC gaming, you have the NVIDIA, AMD, like you have different camps capability, but the idea of here's the reference architecture for a media system. Everybody can build it. Everybody can build games for it.
Yes.
Everybody can build other stuff for it. Like, I do think he was one of the first to really publicly talk about, and look, I know it didn't get traction in 2013 either, but the idea of I have a single box that does everything for me.
That is correct.
Right.
You're right. It was actually called 3DO. What is it? The interactive multiplayer or something to that effect. So they were really trying to take over living room in some respects.
The interactive multiplayer, and the idea was it was at the time CD based.
Yes.
System, but it could do anything entertainment wise, right? Because that was also when they started dabbling in the full motion video games. What was the sewer one?
Oh yeah, was it the sewer?
Sewer Shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a couple of those that were just, and they were pretty bad actually, but like they had real video in them, so that was a cool thing. But it was just, I mean, and then Sony came out with the PlayStation and just so undercut them price wise and produced great content.
Yeah.
At such a lower price point, it kind of doomed them.
Yeah. So now, what games did you rock out for on 3DO, if you remember?
So obviously Road Rash.
Road Rash, the best Road Rash ever.
Yeah, and I see all these companies talking about bringing it back. That game was spectacular. Even the soundtrack to that game.
Yeah.
Like, it just fit everything perfectly. You know, at the time they had Soundgarden doing the theme songs. And it was just, I mean, it was awesome.
Yes, it was.
But it was Road Rash. It was Need for Speed. Actually, like Jurassic Park Interactive, I think was the other one. And
I remember that.
And then Madden, because Madden was the first one where you saw like what looked like real players instead of just the pixel.
Yeah. Was it the first, Lord Bill? Wasn't the first 3D Madden too at the time? Like,
It might have been. I know. I remember playing Madden and just my jaw hitting the floor. Like, oh my god!
It was still isometric. I believe it was still isometric.
Yeah.
That was the one, Lord King. That was the one where you used to play Lord High, and you had that over the middle play that was kind of like unstoppable.
You're right. It was the first 3D one, right? Yes. And that halfback pass, that toss up to my wide receiver, Baby Paul. I killed Lord.
Basically, Lord Bill, this is before like we found like exploits in certain play calls.
Oh sure, there was always that one play that you could just call over and over and over again. No one
he couldn't stop it. He couldn't stop it. Yeah, that night, Lord Howe went home very upset.
So yeah, we had that and what about Gax?
Oh yes, Gax. Yeah.
Wow, I forgot about Gax.
Alone in the Dark, Way of the Warrior.
Way of the Warrior to this day.
Wasn't Crash and Burn the pack in too?
Yes. Okay. Crash and Burn.
Oh yeah, that was one of Naughty Dog's earlier titles too.
Yep.
Warrior. Yep. And then there was another game that they had, Space Hulk.
Yeah.
Yes. And what's funny is I think it was based on the Warhammer 40K series of games. I have never played a Warhammer game in my life.
Don't let Lord SWAT hear that.
But that game hooked me for some reason, and I loved I still now appreciate the stories that go behind that element of Warhammer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mid 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other one I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, it was I believe it was Crystal Dynamics' early entries. It was a game called Total Eclipse. It was like a 3D spaceship kind of a game. It looked beautiful for its time. It was really good scaling. I don't know if you remember Lord King. It was kind of like a 3D spaceship kind of game. You went to all these different worlds.
That was Wingman.
Yeah. Oh, and didn't they have Wing Commander as well?
Yeah, that was awesome. Yes, they did. Was that on the 3DO or was that? I may have played it on the Amiga. I loved that game.
It was on the 3DO.
Yeah.
When it came out, it was one of their last couple of games. And shout out to 3DO for being the first system that you had to get a finance on. You had a monthly game plan for that. Shout out to that, man. They
what was that launch price, Lord King? You remember? Was it 600?
It was $700. It was $699. Wow. I remember going in the store and I picked it up, and I did not like the fact that they came out with the cheaper $500 model. What was it, Goldberg model?
Gold Star.
Yes, the tray, the pop-up tray instead of the slide-out tray.
Yeah, no premium edition with that. I was highly pissed off.
All right, so after that 3D run, Loveville, so then PlayStation we know comes out. We know PlayStation, like you said, the lower price point, tremendous backing. So did you jump on board then, or what was your next as far as your progression?
Yeah, so I picked up a PlayStation when it first came out. I had that for a while, and then that's about right around the time, and then I started Microsoft in 2000, so right before we released the initial Xbox. And I've had both of those consoles then through every one of their iterations. Mostly because I had a PSP at one point. Like, I'll try all of them out to see. I love the idea of the PSP, but having one thumbstick didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I know that kind of doomed it. Yeah,
and so since then I've always had a PlayStation and an Xbox, and every time a new iteration comes out, I'll grab them.
Nice, cool.
How do you feel about the Switch, Bill?
So I have not been able to get my own Switch. I was going to get one. I tried to get one. They're sold out here. Part of the problem of being where Xbox is, and then Nintendo's like a block away. Yeah, nothing lasts in any of our stores. But I love the concept. I think that I mentioned that I appreciated the concept when 3DO came out. I think at some point, and maybe I'm foolish because it's been 20 years, the industry has to move to a point where portability and sort of access to your content's just always there.
Yep.
And I'm not. That's not PR speak for me tying it back to the compatibility. Right? But I mean, like, realistically, gamers just want a game, and it doesn't matter if I'm on a bus or a plane or at home. I want entertainment, and that's where I think the Switch has done some great work in sort of proving that there's a market. It doesn't have to be. I mean, look, the Xbox One X is amazing. Gears in 4K with Atmos is unbelievable when I actually saw it for the first time. But it doesn't always have to be that amazing for you to enjoy it. And I think Switch is proving that.
Yes.
And it's also helping to sort of define the industry struggles with the notion of the social engagement of gaming. And Switch is sort of showing a different dynamic. It's not about clips and sharing and broadcast. That all exists and it's all popular. But here's a different dynamic, which is just you can pick it up and play it anywhere you want. And then you can also just join people while you're on the road.
Great point. Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it with that. I think the portability, like you said, and just being able to just pick up on the go, and like you said, we all know it's not the most powerful system, but they are proving, the skeptics wrong as far as that different. They're showing that there is a market for it. It's just that different base that is clamoring for games, and not necessarily the most powerful thing. So it's interesting to see their development right now. So that's pretty cool. So
Bill, you have Victor in the chat telling you that you can get that Switch right now on Amazon.
No doubt. So
I'm actually at the point now where I'm going to wait for holiday bundles.
Yep.
Nice.
And then not get those too.
Do me a favor, Lord Bill, to help. Make sure you pick up that bundle in November. It'll help me win a bet on the Iron Lord podcast.
Don't wait until January 31st.
We've got an inside bet. We call a segment. We call it Bend the Knee. So half of the Lords are predicting who we think will win November MPD, and the other half. So it's Microsoft, Nintendo.
So,
it's fairly split.
In other words, he's saying half the Lords are going to be wrong, which is his side, and the other half is going to be right, which is our side.
Well, he's getting an Xbox One X. So he's on our side already. So
no, that's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. So now that we've got that career as far as the video game history, let's start off at Microsoft and how did you get started? In your whole journey there, becoming.
I sort of ended up here by accident, actually. Just as a story, it's an interesting story because everybody's like, well, how did you get into the industry? And I totally fell into it by mistake. When I was in college, I tried to enlist in the Marine Corps out of high school. I was still too young. My dad said, no, you're going to college. So while I was in college and I was now old enough, I dropped out of school and enlisted in the Marine Corps again at that point. And all I wanted to do was drive tanks. And that's all I've ever wanted to do, just drive tanks and then maybe be a police officer when I retired from the Marine Corps. So I showed up. Went to the recruiter, said, can I get into tanks? He said, yep, no problem. So I took the initial test for what I was qualified because you have to hit minimum levels in your, what they call the Armed Forces Vocational Aptitude Battery.
Correct.
And he came back, he said, hey, you can still do tanks, but you did really, really well, and we'd like you to do military intelligence instead. Well, I want to do tanks, and so he kept negotiating with me, and eventually he got me to commit to that, which was actually, I loved that job. And one of the things about it was I did signals intelligence and cryptography. So I spent a lot of time working on computers and I spent a lot of time working with technology. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, I had a security clearance. I had all this background, so I was able to do a lot of consulting and made good money doing it, and I had a good time at it. With always the belief that, okay, well, now I'm out. I'll go to the police academy, become a police officer next year, right? And then every year you go to apply, and you go, well, but the money's really good, so maybe I'll do one more year. And that went on for a long time, up until the point where we moved out to Seattle from Chicago. My wife and I did, and I got a call from recruiters, said, hey, we saw your background, we'd like to hire you for Microsoft. I said, great. So I applied, and in fact, I always tell people this. I applied for 2 jobs. The first job I interviewed for, they turned me down, and it was for customer support, and they said I wasn't qualified.
What?
So, but like a week later, the other team called me back, and so I started working at Microsoft in their communications sector, which is a consulting practice that they had built to help telecom with some of our infrastructure systems. And so the very first project I did for Microsoft was I was working with KPN, the Dutch telephone company in the Netherlands, converting their mail system over to a hosted exchange. We now have a hosted exchange, but at the time we didn't. So it was trying to convert an enterprise messaging system into an ISP-based.
I'm loving this. This is all tech jargon. I'm loving this. Could continue.
And so that was the first thing. And so then I did that. I was in that group for a while, mostly around mobile and telecom infrastructure. And then I left because, of course, since I had a security background, the first thing Microsoft did was put me on messaging products. I finally got back into security after that first year and a half, and eventually started working with Windows on some of their security work around Windows XP, SP2, and IE. And at the time, Microsoft was building out a security response team to address a bunch of threats. This is when the internet was starting to just kind of blow up. And
they had to take care of the vulnerabilities and those threats that were
and you had things like Code Red and NIMDA that just took systems down. And so we started working with ISPs on how do you cut this off at the core routers and things like that. So I did that for a few years. Then I went back to mobile, did some entertainment infrastructure services in mobile for a number of years. And then I left again, went to Bing, mobile ads. So I apologize. So yeah, banner ads on your phone. That's my fault.
That's my fault. I love that. I love that line.
Then we went, and so then I actually went back, and this time by now Windows Mobile had been converted to Windows Phone. I went back there and worked on that system for a while. And through all of this, I'd done a number of Xbox projects. I was involved in the initial infrastructure rollouts with telecom for Xbox Live in 2000, and I still have my NFL Fever Xbox Live demo disc.
Wow, NFL Fever. Wow,
remember that?
And then did some the second time I was back in mobile. We did some infrastructure work because Xbox Live video was becoming a thing. And then I got an opportunity to go to the Xbox team and went to store. So I joined the Xbox team in 2012. Working on what was at the time just the Xbox store. It was a single store just for the console business.
That is correct.
After the launch of the Xbox One, that team got reorged into the overall store. So now we have a consolidated store for Microsoft. And then I moved over to the Xbox platform team and did the launch for Xbox One in China. So we did a second rollout for China. First console ever released into that market.
That is correct. Yeah. Wow.
They've been illegal there for over a decade, but through the free trade agreements that they've got, or free trade zones they've set up in Shanghai and somewhere else, we're now able to work with the government and ship an Xbox there.
Not to cut you off, Lord Alex in the chat says, "Bill, get them to put a cart in the store."
Yeah, don't get me started. We don't. This is not a long enough show. And after that, I came back over after we launched it after we launched the console in China. My boss, Kevin Gamble, who some of you saw in the Digital Foundry article, who runs all the platform, said, "Hey, I want someone to run the 360 platform and go work with this other team." That's when I said, "Like, sure, I'll run the 360 platform. I'm fine with that." And so I picked that up. Well, it turned out that was also the team that was doing the 360 back compat program.
Thank God.
I married up with Kevin LaChapelle, who's my engineering manager on this team, and the rest is sort of history.
That is a beautiful last name.
Yeah.
LaChapelle.
Nice. So we get to that 360. Wow.
Yeah, he's. Look, I've been here a long time. There have been like 2 or 3 times where everything just coalesces right, and you end up on a team of. It's what I love about this company. You start to realize just how brilliant some of the people are that you get to work with.
Yeah.
This is, and I say this even though none of them are near me, so I can say it and still be sincere. Like, I love these guys. They are so smart and they're so committed. And what I love about them the most is they're gamers first. A lot of our engineers they're in the credits of other games. They've been involved in the industry for a long time. And there's just sort of this commitment to even to themselves that this is just what people want. And so we're going to figure out a way to do it.
Facts.
And just some brilliant guys, and I love working with them.
Facts. Now I want to backtrack you for a second when we talked about the getting over to 360, becoming on a platform team. Now that transition to Xbox One, because when me and you talked, I'll never forget it. It was Xbox. It was E3 2015, and Phil comes out, the guys come out, you come out, and just mingling up with the fans. But you guys don't get enough credit for. I mean, you guys really are gamers first. You always talk to the community. You always personal. We really respect and appreciate you guys. But it was funny because I remember it was yesterday. We were talking about it, and shout out to my man Lord Ruler. We were trying to make our little predictions before the show. Like, what do you think Xbox One's going to show? And yada yada yada. And then you just had a smirk on your face the whole time. I just remember it like it was yesterday. And then after the show, we talked, and like you guys dropped that bombshell of Xbox 360 compatibility, and I'm just like, Bill, how did you do it? Remember, I was just like, because in my understanding, prior to that, like Lord King, Lord Sovereign, and I, like, we come from that era where in order to have backward compatibility, a piece of the core architecture from the old platform had to be included in the new platform, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting there and we're like, well, they don't have any 360 components. It's completely different architecture. Like, how do you do it? And you just smile and you're like, emulation, baby. And I'm like, wow. So just bring me back to that whole announcement, that whole process, and getting that thing going with backward compatibility.
That's got to be one of the highlights for me. Just
facts
here, because it's always tough when you build stuff because you're never quite sure how it's going to be received. And I mentioned I was in Windows Mobile, Windows Phone for a lot of my career here. It's hard to see something that you just invest in and people just kind of like, or worse, they're antagonistic towards. I don't mean it in a poor me way. Like, it's just part of the job. But it was here's the best part of that was that it wasn't just the way it was received. It didn't leak. The best part about it was I think it leaked like 3 times, but everybody kept saying, no, it's not possible. So
yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I watched that on Xbox Live, and we were sitting there when it came up, like that is by far the least thing I ever expected. Like, usually I'm pretty good besides last E3. Everything announced there just completely went over my head. I was like, I did not expect half of this, but like particularly that announcement for backwards compatibility, it was like, yep, they completely got me this year. I'm done.
Yeah, that was the great part. But the better part was that night when we were at the mall where you guys were all lined up to get tickets. Major Nelson Larry would just introduce me as the 360 program manager or something along those lines. Everybody's like, oh, my favorite game on the 360 was this, or my favorite game on the 360 was this. And it was so rewarding to know, like, we were going to show Mass Effect. At the time, we knew Red Dead was on the horizon, and we just had to work through some of the other sides of it. It was going to come out. Like, it was great to hear people talk about how much they loved these series and missed them, knowing that they were coming. And I think that's really where you started to appreciate as someone who builds things, the impact it has on people.
Yes.
I have become super convicted that one of the challenges this industry has that we need to work through is that games are very transitory in terms of their popularity, because people think of them in, this is the next release, and then this is the next release, and then this is the next release, and now it's a remaster, and now it's it's an add-on prelude pack or whatever. But they're no different, and I've said this to other people before, they're no different between them as an art form, as books or movies or music. And the reality is there's new music that comes out that I love, and I still go back and I listen to classic music. There are movies that are Star Wars, right? Like, who would ever say, well, don't watch the original Star Wars because now Rogue One's out? Like, they're all good movies. And people forget that games, the graphics have changed, but if they're good games, they're still good games. And I played through the Mass Effect series again after we did all 3 of them.
Nice.
I forgot how much I love that series.
Yeah.
Right? Like Andromeda comes out, and I hadn't played it in forever. And so I'm like, let me go back and play the other ones before I start, and just had a blast. The other part to this is that there's an entire generation of gamers that have never played these games before.
Yes.
Red Dead's an example of that, right? Like, I love that game, but it's older. And so my son, he's never even heard of that game before, right? Because he's younger, right? So he's never doesn't know it exists unless I expose him to it. Mass Effect's the same way, or the BioShocks. They're good stories, they're good narratives, and they're a lot of fun. Just like, and this isn't a backward compatibility thing, but for when MCC came out, Master Chief Collection came out.
Oh yeah.
First thing I did was I sat down with my son and we played multiplayer or co-op all the way through the campaign, split screen.
Nice.
Like he loved that was, and it's not just because it was the game, it was me and my son together. Like just those things never change, and people forget that history is a rich history that we need to keep going.
Absolutely. I mean, you made some great points there, like you said, because there's a generation that just never even experienced these great games that we're talking about. So to be able to bring that back, and I know there was some controversy recently in reference to, how many people are playing it. And I'm glad you guys, and shout out to you and Mike Ibarra, and you guys got in front of it. And the numbers showed otherwise, that people are playing these games. And, I believe when, Black Ops 2 was announced.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Black Ops 2 did. I think Black Ops 2 is the only game I've ever seen to be out for a last gen in chart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Like, when I go to GameStop and I pick up I pick up multiple copies of on different platforms, I'm like, man, like it's like, why is one $10 more than the other? This ain't right.
It's got another question I have for you in reference to the program was that I know, Bill, it's got to be tough on your Twitter mentions with people are like, hey, what's up with Title X? Why is it such and such coming? And I know in the past you've actually commented on like a lot of this actually comes down to the publisher and the timing of when they want to announce something, and they may have a schedule. So could you make it clear to people that sometimes it's really not always on Microsoft as to why said title hasn't been released on backward compatibility?
Yeah, it's look, the technology, we I think I'd state it this way: we've proven that we can make the tech work.
Yes.
Still over 400 games. It clearly works. There have been a number of reviews on performance. We weren't as great in the beginning, but we've since fixed that. This is a partnership industry where artists and content creators have a belief and a story for how to manage their own brands, and all we want to do is be an enabler for them.
Yes.
I get it all the time. What about this game? What about this game? What about this game? Sometimes it gets to be a little much. Black Ops 2 noise got high, but at the same time, I will state this: I have never blocked anybody. I get some nasty ones.
Oh my God!
But I don't ever block anybody, because here's the thing: we have to keep reminding ourselves that for one person, this one game that no one else cares about was something special to them.
True.
And we won't get all of the games. Like I don't think, maybe we'll get lucky and something will change. But that's just the nature of the industry. People different rights. The rights expired. It's so, who knows? But you don't ever want to dissuade someone from having the love that they have for something. Right. And it's great to see. Somebody tweeted me, I think yesterday, about like, hey, for Halloween I want these 4 games, and like, and then they put Deadly Premonition in, and I'm not as a Microsoft rep.
That's a good game.
That game was, here's the thing, that game was a blast. It was awful, but it was also a blast.
Yeah.
It was. I got.
It's nice to reminisce, even if we don't ever bring it to the program professionally. Like personally, I just enjoy reminding myself, oh, I forgot about that game, or I forgot about this game.
Absolutely. Shout out to Lord Anchorman in the chat. He said, let Bill know without backward compatibility, he wouldn't be able to play Mass Effect series for the first time this year. So
that's awesome.
You guys made a lot of people happy.
Go back and play some of these games, like with now that they're done, you're like, oh my gosh, it'd be so cool to see it for the first time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And shout out
Go ahead,
Bill, I gotta say, man, and I know Microsoft is very appreciative to you, because without you guys and your hard work, we wouldn't have Game Pass. Because Game Pass is comprised of at least 75% of 360 games.
Yeah, that's we work with those guys all the time. Nice. It's a good business group. It's weird being in the industry and also being a fan. and I appreciate the sentiment, because people don't realize, like, we may not get it right, but it's never. It's funny because people ascribe malicious intent to so many things, which I just don't understand. I'm sarcastic by nature, so there's times where I've maybe made comments that I shouldn't have, because when written down, they don't sound sarcastic. They just sound like I'm a jerk. But I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah. Oh, two questions actually. Looks like the chat. Yeah, chat's heating up on you with the backward compatibility.
Yeah, you in it.
Yeah, you're in it. So pretty much, they shout out to Lord Alex. He's saying that could you comment on the slow release of the backward compatibility games? Are there just not enough games left to put out on backward compatibility, or are you guys focusing more on the OG Xbox backward compatibility since Phil announced it? I guess was it last E3?
I think I'm going to answer this question. So we always work on other things, and I would also say that if you actually go back and look at our release schedules for the last couple of years, things have been slow. There's never been a consistent run rate. We'll have big surges, and then we'll have things go quiet, and it just depends. It is a seasonal business, and there's a lot going on right now. So,
gotcha.
Program's still going strong. I'm still gainfully employed. I don't believe that it's going to be ending anytime soon.
Nice. Well, I want to give you a shout out for bringing back one of my favorite titles of all time, which was the classic arcade Shinobi. The Lords know I actually bought the arcade upright in my house. That was one of my dream games I always wanted as a kid. And when you guys brought that back, I was so happy when I retweeted it, like your thing 1,000 times, that the original arcade Shinobi was out on that. And I guess my only personal request is there was a silly little Voltron Xbox Arcade Live game that I miss. I doubt the rights are still there, but if there's any way you can make that happen, speak to anybody, just let me know.
If I could say anything, if I could find a track forward on any game, I always try to get it in.
My man, love it.
You know, you missed everyone talks about games, but they always forget. Like, a large part of my childhood was playing it at the arcade.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, get on your bike, take your quarters, ride to the arcade, put your quarters up on the machine, wait for your turn.
Yep.
And like that was an entire generation of gamers that those things don't even exist anymore. Right now, you get them all in one box for $30.
Yeah, it's sad. It was a whole culture behind it too.
It's not about just playing it in your house. It was the whole atmosphere of waiting your turn at a machine. You put your quarter up there at the top. These kids will never know. Like it was when we went to 34th
That's directed
Street.
towards me, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You're the young one.
You young bucks won't ever understand. When we went to 42nd Street, that was great adventures for us. You know, we got $10, we got our quarters. We went to the guy in the booth, and he was like the overlord, looking at everyone, and he's like the king of the quarters. And you know, we get those quarters, and oh man, like sitting inside a machine. I remember when Daytona was released, and I got my dollar and I put it inside, and I sat inside, and the chair was moving and rumble, and I lost my mind. So they won't get these feelings. They won't.
Well, and also just like the sense of community you got, and also the trash talking. Because I'm sorry, if you get Street Fighter, you put your quarter up, and the guy who was there before you would smack you down, and then you get to the end of the line.
Yep. So many good points from a competitive standpoint, and then the also thing, well, Bill, was people forget, like, the arcade at that time, that was like the debut of new tech. You got to see how things advanced by when a new arcade cabinet, a new machine came out, you know. And I remember things, you know, like the Mortal Kombats and things like that, that blew your mind at the time, and just how graphics just kept on going, the virtual fighters and so on and so forth. And you just seen, you know, the Tekkens, you just seen the advancements whenever a new release would come out, and that would kind of be, you know, the set piece, and then the console was actually behind, you know.
That was. Remember, Albert Pinello just tweeted out about one of his favorite games was that Star Wars Vector one, where it was all and I actually had a Vectrex.
Me too.
You just put the overlay on top so you could have color.
Yes.
Yes. I loved it. No,
that was like you said. You sat down and like all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, this looks so real, because they had lines instead of graphics, which were really blocky at the time, so it was clean.
Yes.
Real quick, little Bill, did you miss out on Coleco, or Coleco was not in your radar?
I had I had lots. So I had an Atari. I had a lot of Ataris. My friends had the Intellivision, and then my cousin got ColecoVision and Donkey Kong, and I was so jealous. I begged for that for Christmas and never got it.
Nice. And one last question in reference to the Genesis era, because I know you're a big sports guy. We have to admit, like, that era had some of the best sports games, man.
Oh, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. I mean, to be honest, and I'm going to go into your NHL history soon. That's what got me into hockey, is actually those EA hockey games. Those, Lakers versus Celtics, the sports games, and the EA. They were so good, man. Like, and I believe what was the one that had like Blood debuted? I forgot what
NHL 94.
94, baby.
I don't know
there we go.
Debuted, but that was the game.
You guys realize I was 2.5 years old at this time?
I'm sorry, Lord. Yeah, man. NHL 94, and then it just progressed, and what a series, man! What a series.
Well, that was around the time too where Madden, like when it was still John Madden football, and they had the one where you break your leg and the ambulance would drive out.
Yeah, he rolled over.
Yes.
Oh man, we could talk classic gaming for months. Oh my god, it was about
but let's not.
But we will move on because we have a young buck as part of the round table. But I also want to go into your undeniable passion for hockey. We know you always rep the sport. We know you play the games, and tell us about that and that whole process.
Yeah, so I grew up in Chicago, and hockey was always. I got two brothers. We're all Bears fans, which is rough, right? My one brother was really into the White Sox. My other brother was really into basketball and the Bulls, and I was a Blackhawks guy. And then I played as a little kid, not much, but I played growing up. I played all the way through teenagers, just like club hockey, nothing significant. And then, but I've always been a fan of the sport. So when my son expressed an interest in playing the game, just sort of out of the blue, I mean, maybe because we're watching it all the time, when he was about 6, we took him to, or he was 5, we took him to Hockey 1, and he started playing. And my first season when he was a mite, I was asked to be assistant coach. I said to the head coach, I said, I haven't played in forever. And I love this game, and I love watching it and being a part of it. And he said, but I forgot how to play it. And he's like, just go to this one training camp that they have in the area. So I went there, and like after the first game, I'm like, I forgot how much I love this. And I had an old set of goalie gear, so I brought it out. I mean, it's old gears, but I brought it out to the second practice, and they're like, "Oh, you played goalie?" I said, "Yeah, a long time ago." And
he came out with a leather helmet.
Yeah, he's like, great, we need goalies. And so I spent the rest of the camp playing as a goalie, and then got drafted by this adult league team.
What?
Wow.
And so I started playing it again at night.
Wow.
And just kept playing. And now, so then I started playing on like 2 teams and then 3 teams. And then the following year, they said, or 2 years later, my son went back he moved up from mites to squirts. They said, hey, you interested in being a coach again? I said, yeah, sure. Just, assistant coach, you're opening the door, you're running drills, that kind of stuff. The next thing I know, my name was on one of the teams. And
wow.
Be the head coach. And I will say that what's reinforced, I love the NHL game. I love the international game. But watching kids play it sort of flips the perspective a little bit, and you start to see the game just from the pure passion of it.
Yes.
And I'm going to coach. I'm head coach again for my son's team this year. I actually coached 2 teams because he's on a development team as well. And I coach both of those. And it's an honor to be out there and a joy to be out there and see kids compete just because they love it. And the other thing I love, and this is new because when we grew up, it was different. Or I grew up, it was different. Like I watch these kids, they don't watch the NHL the same way I do. Or I'll sit down, I'll watch it and start to finish. They'll watch clips on YouTube. They'll watch highlights. They'll watch, and it's all via YouTube. And what's amazing is, I had a kid last year whose favorite player was Ovechkin, and he loves the Capitals. And Capitals sit and watch Ovi do things, and then he'd go on the ice and just try to do them with no appreciation of the fact that he couldn't. And it turns out he could. Not quite to the level, but and that's really where that kind of re-grounded me in how much I just love this game. So awesome. Now I coach a couple teams. I play. I'll only play one game with one team during the kids season just because of time, and then I pick up drop-ins like Friday night stuff like that when time permits. But yeah, I'm on the ice this time of year. I'm on the ice 5 to 6 days a week.
Oh wow! So that's the legend of the Great Wall. That's how the Great Wall started.
Listen, let me tell you something. That's telling you, all you guys out there, don't give up on your dreams. He had his dusty equipment inside the corner and said, I'm going to take this leather helmet. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to see whatever happens. That's I got love for the game. And look where he's at. So trust me when I'm telling you, that's fantastic. That's beautiful.
So being a Guardian's completely in the realm, right?
Yes, you never know. You never know. Like
Never
2 years from now, they might be shipping you into space. You going first anyway. I'll be way too old to go into space. See you later.
Oh man, back to the
You're never too old. I gotta tell you a story.
Go
Sorry, but when you talk about going to space, when they talked about doing the Mars mission, I applied immediately, and I submitted the application. Hold on, for my whole family. And my wife thought I was joking, and then I got like a mail back for asking for more data, and I'll never forget because. She's like, "Are you out of your mind? We're not taking the family to Mars." I'm like, "You don't have to take us." But then my daughter threw a temper tantrum. "Oh, my friends are here. I don't want to leave. I don't want to go to
I would
Mars."
have loved to have been present for that conversation.
I'm trying to tell her like we can name the places after us.
Hey, Bill, how does it feel to have one of probably the only arguments that's been in history about sending your kid, your whole family to Mars?
Yeah, right.
That's an awesome story.
Like they leaving tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
This is awesome. Real quick, yeah, just I was very curious about, like I said, your NHL history and stuff like that, because for me it's funny because I was never, where we're from, NHL is really not prominent as far as promoting the community and anything, stuff like that. But I remember like playing like the NHL games with Lord Sov and stuff like that, kind of learning about the sport. And then I'll be honest, like you said, like when you watch people play and you see the passion, to me, going to a game is better than watching a game. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
And I never forget, it was like, was it 93, 94? And it was like Rangers, Penguins. And I didn't know any of the players. I didn't know anything. All I knew was, who was that number 66? Because this guy scored every goal possible, like, killing, whatever. And I was like, that's my man. And it comes to find out, it was Mario Lemieux.
Yeah.
And he had like a 5-goal game, every possible goal scored. And I'm like, I'm a Penguins fan. That's my guy. Number 66. So every subsequent NHL game, I would just buy it just so I can play with Lemieux and what they had, Yager back there. You got to school me a little bit, like Ray Bork or something like that.
Yeah,
that was my team. Mark Recchi.
That's when we was going at it, and I was Wayne Gretzky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's funny that marriage for people who didn't grow up in the hockey culture, that marriage between gaming and that it really helped a lot of people kind of get into it because those games are also so good, that kind of thing. So I always felt that was interesting as far as
it's
growing
definitely
up.
a sport. So I'll say two things about it.
Sure.
The hard part about hockey over any other sport is everybody knows how to run, everybody knows how to jump, everybody knows how to do that, and then they have to learn a sport around it. Hockey, you actually have to learn how to skate first, and that's always intimidating to people. I will say this: I've had some coworkers who have never skated, never played hockey, and I'll put them through there's a couple of adult camps out here that are like learn to play camps. And within 1 year, they're usually playing on a team, and some of them end up being pretty good at it because it is a commitment, and it is learning to run all over again in a new way.
It is. I remember I used to do a little bit of it. I mean, I didn't go through some like camp or anything. I think I'd die if I went through something like that. But like I have a hard time roller skating, much less being on ice like that. That's and like I have a hard time walking, much less like a hard time like skating.
But I think that's part of it is there's an intimidation factor to start the sport, especially as they get older, because a lot of these kids, like my son, have started when they're 4 or 5 or 6, and so it's hard to jump in. But then once you do it, or as you said, once you go see it live, my best friend, he's from LA. He lives out here now, but never played the sport, can't get him to go out on the ice. But we went up to Vancouver to see the Blackhawks play the Canucks, and we got on the glass. He was stunned, like his jaw hit the floor at how fast and how big these guys are, and how athletic they actually are. And you know what? I actually think football, is a sport that was made for TV. Basketball is another one. When you see it live, it fundamentally changes the perspective. like, because you don't realize, especially if you're close to the court, you don't realize how big these guys are.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like you look at like I remember watching the Bulls, and I'm like Steve Kerr, he's a little guy on the team, and then you actually see
him?
Steve Kerr in person, you're like, oh, he's gigantic.
It's a good point. Yeah, you're right. It's all.
I think those two games are definitely ones that are better in person.
I think basketball has that same thing. You know, I might glance at basketball every now and then. They all look around my height, but if you ever meet any of these people in person, they towering over me.
Power. No,
yeah,
right.
I'm 6'3", so you know everybody's like, "Oh, you're so tall." You're so no. I'm a point guard, mama.
You're a point guard, yeah.
You're a point guard. How crazy is that? And everyone looks at you like, Lord King, you're so huge. Like again, it's all perspective, like you said. You know, you go to the court and you see these things, and you see how big these guys are.
I met Allen Iverson in person, and me and him was eye to eye.
Wow.
That gives you a lot of perspective on how big that guy really is.
There's that picture of, I think it's Shaq and Barkley standing with The Rock.
Yes.
Realize, they're Shaq in particular, like, beast.
Beasts. Cool. So we got the journey. That's real cool. And the hockey love, we got that in. So we're gonna get the show rolling. We got want to get into what the Lords are playing. So let's start off. Actually, start with Lord Bill. What have you recently been playing, like as far as game wise? What's in the systems right now?
So number I'm not gonna tell you about. I still play Overwatch pretty regularly.
Nice.
I play it just about every week. I just finished What About Edith Finch?
Wow.
Which is a really short sort of walking sim game. It's fantastic. That story is unbelievable.
It is.
Nothing to say, Lord Sovereign?
Lord Sov?
It's fantastic walking simulator. I don't use that as a negative term. It's a fantastic game.
No, the reason why I say that, Bill, because Lord Sovereign is a proponent for this game, and I thought he would be raving to hear that you are playing it.
No
if
doubt.
you haven't played it, it's an amazing story.
It is.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's weird. It's very weird, and like each set piece is just very cool. And again, like it's just one of those things. It takes whatever people deem the walking simulator to be, it kind of changes up the formula a little bit. Even more so than something like a Tacoma or even Gone Home.
Yep.
But I would say go play Gone Home also. Go play those games.
Well, you have to, like, there's a simple mechanic to the game. It's not tough to play at all. And yet the tension it builds just through that. I was sort of stunned to step back for a second and realize I was on edge playing the game.
I think the only game I've ever had that kind of on edge, like terrifying chill down my back was Friday the 13th when Jason's like going by me.
That's a funny game. So cool. So you got Edith Finch in there, and anything else, or that was just pretty much taking up most of your time?
That's pretty much taking up almost that. Overwatch is still, and also Vostok Inc.
Oh, what'd you say? Hold up, Bill. Go back there for a second. Go back a little, Bill. What did you say you were playing?
Overwatch.
Oh my God!
What about that, Lord Cognito? Overwatch.
Yeah, he knows. Lord Addict knows that. I'm not
Game of the Year
fan of Overwatch. Not that the game's not good. Not that the game is fantastic. The problem I just had an issue with it winning Game of the Year because I just felt it was, multiplayer only component. But that's for another day. We'll discuss that another time. This is not about me and my feelings about Overwatch. But I know why people love it. Great characters, great balance, great cooperative play. I get it.
Can I make one statement on that though?
Continue.
So I get the whole no multiplayer only, because same thing with Titanfall, right? Like I loved Titanfall, but I missed the single player, and then Titanfall 2 came out and showed that they could do a great single player.
Correct.
Right.
Here's what Blizzard did though that I think people overlook. Go watch their shorts that they did, the animations that they did. Just go watch the 7 or 8 of those that they produced, and then go play the game. And it's a weird dynamic, but those are so expertly produced and so deep that it gives you an entire single player story without you ever picking up the controller.
I'm with you, Lord Bill. I just wish a lot of that stuff was incorporated into
the game. I hear you.
And so, it's almost like the argument for the people who hate Destiny Vanilla, because it was like, you have this great story, but it's in the Grimoire.
You have to repeat it. Yeah, that's fair.
Exactly. That's my only thing, because the characters are great. I mean, the animation, everything about the game is great. I'm really not trying to hate on it. It's really a good game. That's the only thing I want. I just want to learn more about the characters. I'm passionate.
People got all to me for saying this statement. But I get that, people don't want multiplayer only games winning Game of the Year. But at the end of the day, I feel like Game of the Year is more about what game is best of the entire year, because that's why you have best shooter of the year, best story, best narrative. I feel like it's more about what that game does in the industry that year more than
it definitely
what
changed
it
the
is.
game. There's no doubt about it. I cannot take that away from Overwatch.
Well, Overwatch was out for a year and it had its own con.
Absolutely. So that's
going to be some interesting conversations around PUBG at the end of the year also. So.
Oh yeah. We're gonna get into PUBG too. All right. So Lord Addict, what have you been playing this week?
Destiny 2, a little bit of Destiny 2. And I tried a little bit, just a dabble of Destiny 2.
Destiny 2. You got to get me through that raid, no doubt.
No, I did play something else. No, it's been Destiny 2.
It's been Destiny. All right, cool. Lord Sov, what have you been playing this week?
Yeah, actually, I've been cracked out on Destiny 2.
I'm shocked.
No, I mean, you know me. Like, I finished the story finally. It was all right. I did the Crucible challenges. So I played a lot of Crucible yesterday, actually.
Wow.
And I did a Nightfall yesterday. So
what?
The thing about
you using guided games. Who you do this?
Shout out to Lord Sinister and Lord Kaibatsu. They got me through a Nightfall.
Your first Nightfall,
which is kind of insane.
Wait till you do the Prestige. You'll pull your hair out.
Yeah, I know. And when we finished it, then Lord Sinister's like, "Yeah, this isn't even the hard one." I'm like, "Great, thanks." Finished my entire accomplishment.
And I'm sitting there like, as a lot of I was an addict to the first one, but for some reason, like, I didn't think I would hit Destiny 2 like I hit Destiny 1. But I feel like it's worse. Like,
it is.
My sleeping schedule is so messed up, and you can ask Lord Cognito. I tried to go to sleep at a reasonable time last night before work. I tried to be a responsible adult, but I sat down. I was like, I wonder if they're done with the raid. And I'm sitting here, I can't stop.
Destiny is a full-time job in itself. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
No doubt. That's cool. So that's you got that done.
Steam World Dig 2 also on the Switch. Just came out on the Switch this past week. Fantastic Metroidvanias, that kind of 2D platform action adventure type stuff. Excellent game. So got Switch, pick it up.
Lord King, has it just been Destiny for you as well? What have you been playing?
No, not at all. I must say I've been dabbling in on my PC Steam stuff. Checking out PUBG. Also, playing my 3DS and getting that Metroid, and thank you, Nintendo. It is fantastic. And Destiny. Everything else has been spare time Destiny. Helping out monkeys, Hot Monkeys Loving, running through with Addict, getting the raid completed. And shout out to Requendo that's in the chat. What's going on, brother? Man, listen, Destiny and getting everybody through, the whole team has to get through now, and everybody learn the mechanics and learning placements. That is priority for the rest of the month. So
yeah, it's me. Pretty much the same. I mean, Destiny is pretty much taking up a lot of my time. I'm trying to get that raid completed. Shout out to all the clans, everyone hooking us up. Shout out to Lord Requeno in the chat. His gaming thing is the same as mine right now. It's been at home. It's been all Destiny 2. Whenever I'm work, I'm on the road. It's been NBA 2K18 on the Switch, man. I cannot get enough of that game. It is a full translation. I'm having so much fun. My player, my park, whatever it is, the career mode. It is so well done, and I've been loving it. The only thing they have to fix, I think 2K has a worldwide bug going on right now that sometimes when you start it up, it acts like it forgot your character, but then once you load into the server, it then, re-downloads everything you did because it kind of scares you. You think you lost all your progress. But other than that, I mean, it's been real fun. So that's pretty much been it for me. So we're going to get this show rolling. And as far as we had a poll, obviously, last week. The results are in and the people have spoken. So the Lord Addict's question, with TGS and the resurgence of JRPGs in 2017, do you think Microsoft should be more aggressive in acquiring Japanese influenced games? The winner at 73% is the Yes, Phil, Make It Happen group. We want those JRPGs. So it was a landslide vote. And coming in at second was 23% was the Japanese games are a dying / niche genre group. So thanks to all. I know, yeah. Thanks to all who participated.
Don't pay those guys any mind. You lost.
They lost. Thanks to all who participated in last week's poll. The ILP Twitter was intense for their love of the Japanese game. So, real quickly, what do the Lords think about this result? Kind of in a landslide. Start with
Thank
Lord
God
Bill.
that it was that way.
What do you feel about this, Lord Bill, as far as Japanese games?
As a fan, I love a lot of them, but I'm not going to comment on what we should do as a business.
Fair enough. So okay, we got the Lords. We got a new poll coming up at the end of Twitter at the end. So stay tuned. So we got some great topics at the round table this week. So I'm going to set it off, and a lot going on with Xbox only begotten son, our Lord and Savior, Phil Spencer.
Yes.
He's got a promotion going on. So I wanted to talk about that. It looks like it was the executive, vice president of gaming. It was a huge promotion, and it from my standpoint, it was just cool to see, gaming being brought to the forefront. So I wanted to bring this topic to the round table, to all the Lords, and what do we feel about Phil getting this promotion, as well as what it might mean in the future. So I know Lord Bill might have to be careful about what he says, but let's start with Lord Bill. What do you think about this promotion by Phil Spencer?
As someone who works in the org, I think Phil's been a spectacular leader for us.
Yes.
I love the flexibility and the freedom he gives his teams, and I thought it was a good move for him. And I'm glad to see. I mean, look, I think that sometimes people read too much into organizational structures.
Mm-hmm.
Gaming's been part of Microsoft since the beginning, and will continue to be a core tenet. Satya's talked about it when he talks publicly about the things that Microsoft's committed to, and this is just a vote of confidence in the team and Phil that we can go continue to execute against that.
No doubt. Fair enough. Any of the Lords want to jump in on the Phil Spencer promotion?
I do.
Let's go for it. You're a huge fan of Phil. We had the Peter Moore versus Phil poll.
And my boy
Phil Spencer won, and Lord King went crazy. It was an intense poll too. But go ahead, Lord.
It was like 2,000 votes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yo, you know what? It's like, when you pick something and it pans out for you, right? Like you pick something that's a winner. He's a winner. I love the fact that his strategy is working out. And you know what? I guess it's my biasness, because when he did become captain of the ship, and I said, man, this guy, I like the way he operated. I was watching his moves, and I said, I know I see great things with this guy. I did not like the last guy. I don't want anybody else to chime in. They don't need to chime in. I did not like the last guy at all.
We're not fans of the Don.
No, not at all. It came off way too smug. I didn't like his vibe. His vibe was nasty. But
oh my God.
Phil's vibe is so fantastic, and I know it's like probably a man crush. I have no idea. oh no!
Oh my God!
Oh, Bill,
you're hilarious.
Well, Phil. It's probably a man crush on Phil, but Phil has been doing fantastic things. You understand? Like, absolutely. When I'm telling you, he's been changing the narrative going forward. If you don't look at his moves. It's been so strategic that if it was a problem here, he dealt with it in this way, and he took away that narrative. If it was a problem here, he dealt with it this way and strategically took this out and replaced it with this, and he enhanced everything as he's going forward. Somebody looked up, saw that, and saw the moves that he was making, and he did it without causing a big ruckus. Without proclaiming anything. He was just like, watch me smoke, baby. And he's been smoking. And now that he's in complete control, I'm telling you, we will be back as number one completely across the board. And when this Xbox One hits, this is his box. When it hits, and when it comes up to my next segment, when it hits, I'm going to tell you why he wins and how he wins.
Looking forward to it. Lord Sovereign, what do we feel about the Phil Spencer promotion?
I think it's a fantastic move. I think it does a lot to sort of assure the gaming masses as a whole that Microsoft is invested in Xbox. Because, again, the loudness and the fatalist mentality of a lot of the internet, like you see a lot of people, Microsoft's going to dump Xbox, it's not making money for them or whatnot. Mm-hmm. This is a vote of confidence, and the fact that the fact that Phil is going to report directly to Satya, it means that gaming is an integral part to everything that Microsoft is doing. And I think it means great things for the Xbox platform. Hopefully, hopefully more money in terms of type games that they can acquire and deals that can be made to bring more games to the platform. And I just think it's great all around. It's going to be in a funny way. It's getting closer to that ideal that was initially announced in 2013, where it had things that were perceived as negative, but at the same time, it was trying to bring this entire digital sort of universe together.
It's amazing how much that ideal is becoming more accepted in 4 years.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was an idea that was sort of presented in a way that came off and negatively. I mean, but I know for us, like us in this podcast, we were ready to go that route. I said, okay, well, this is what Microsoft's system is going to be. This is what PlayStation's system is going to be. But I'm all in on both. I don't, whatever it is whatever it is. And obviously, the masses had something different to say about that.
Right.
But I just think.
Now, real quick, Lord Sov, you're referencing the digital only era, like that kind of bit, or I just want to
like forcing the digital era, the sort of negativity around not allowing the used games and sort of the closed walled off garden thing involved in that. It just because a lot of people felt that this was going to be a natural progression anyway, so there was no need to create a system around it, and that's where the negativity came from. And a lot of it honestly could be summed up in, we have a system for you, and it's the Xbox 360, and it's just people felt that it was a slap in the face. It was a slap in the face to be told that. Yeah, so I mean, this is a fantastic move for Xbox, for Microsoft, and gaming at large. I think we're going to see some great things down the line. So,
I feel Lord Attic. What do you feel about the Phil Spencer promotion?
I think it's it's definitely good on Phil Spencer. I mean, I'm pretty sure out of everyone, he's definitely not the one complaining. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really know what exactly it means. I don't know anything about that kind of corporate stuff. I don't know. Obviously, one would expect it would be good for the gaming division of the Microsoft company as a whole. But how much, that's to be decided. We don't know what they have in place. We don't even know if this could even impact. This is just like a title buff that we've seen in a lot of other scenarios in different industries. Is sometimes people are doing these jobs already and they're just officially gave the time.
I see your point. So you're more of the wait and see. Let's see what happens kind of deal.
It's like, I don't know what Microsoft, I don't know their corporate ladder. I don't know how any of that goes. Can't really give inputs on, policies and stuff I don't know.
Fair enough. I hear where you're coming from. Yeah, just a comment real quick.
I just want Fable back. That's all I care.
That's all you want. Okay, we'll bring that up. We'll send that up to Bill to get that to Phil. Fable. The man wants Fable. Lord Bill.
I wrote it down.
Thanks. We appreciate you, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same lines with Lord Sovereign on this. I mean, I think this is actually pretty good. Again, I do hear what Lord Attic is saying. Sometimes these things are already going on behind the scenes, and maybe in place. But I always felt since Satya came in, 2014 and assumed control of the Xbox division, and then Spencer. I love to see Phil's growth, and he started as an intern. He's been with Microsoft since '88. And just to see the progression to take over Xbox. And, one thing I like about you guys, Bill, is that, you guys are gamers. And that's one thing that I've always exuded from Phil. Every conversation I've had with him, anytime we met in person and things of that nature. So it's always good to see what I consider true gamers in these positions, as opposed to what I consider quote unquote suits, no disrespect to, I don't know Terry Myerson personally. I don't want to disrespect any of the, the guys up there, in the platform, but, I know Phil, personally, and that's something that's always, came off from him. So it's good to see.
Regardless, what Microsoft do, what Microsoft don't do. This company made one of my all-time, dreams I've ever wanted, was to go to E3, and they did it twice. So I can't really go too much in on anything.
Exactly, and Microsoft does not get enough credit for how they interact with their community. I mean, you cannot say that again about any other brand. You know, it's really great what you guys do. So, you know, to me, this is really cool. I think this is, you know, Microsoft Xbox gaming at the big boy table, so to speak. You know, and hopefully has a little bit more influence. Hopefully, you know, the cries of, you know, first party studios and things of that nature, and all these things that, you know, Phil I know hears all the time gets accomplished, and I'm excited. So this was really cool news to get. And you know, we'll see what happens. What the future happens. So that's all I got on it. If the Lords are good, we'll move on to the next topic. All right. So Lord Addict, I'll bring it to you. You've got a lot of
So
Fortnite.
I'm gonna
news.
merge two things because I was gonna talk about the crossplay, you know,
Mhm.
thing, but I think that's been destroyed as of right now. So what I want to talk about is the PUBG
Woohoo!
versus Fortnite issue. Or
Mhm.
is that anyone else's topic? I'm
No,
pretty sure it's
we-
not. Okay, so let's get in on
tie it
this.
We could tie it in with crossplay and the PUBG versus Fortnite.
Yeah, so apparently, you know, the whole PUBG with Fortnite thing, it's been big. You know, I didn't think it was I saw this, I didn't really see too much into it, but then, you know, it starts blowing up everywhere. I see YouTube videos, podcasts talking about it. I think I even saw it on GameSpot. And it's just I want to ask what you guys think, you know, the allegations of, you know, Fortnite stealing from PUBG, this and that. Like, do you think there is I personally, you know, it was bound to happen. I don't think it's really a big issue. But then again, I'm not in that kind of industry. I'm pretty
Right.
sure I'd be a little salty too.
Mhm.
But, you know, and then after that, you know, just give your do you guys think cross play would be beneficial if it was, you know, I wouldn't say mandate, but it was highly encouraged?
Okay. Let's start with crossplay first, and then we'll go into PUBG versus Fortnite. So let me jump in. I'll jump in with crossplay. Crossplay to me is something that I really value, only from the standpoint of there's games sometimes that I love that I feel that, you know, people move away from, you know, maybe the online community kind of dies out. And to me, it's a strength to have more platforms and more people playing on those servers and opening up so that, you know, because to me, nothing worse than it's a game you love and then you jump on and like the online community is like, you know, only 50 or 1,000 people playing said game.
Yep.
That to me sucks. So crossplay is something that is very attractive. Now, I will say this in Sony's defense is that, you know, I'll get my history right, Lord Sovereign, because I got to get it correct. Wasn't in the Xbox 360 era, there was a Final Fantasy game that I believe they wanted crossplay, or Sony wanted crossplay, and at the time, Microsoft, for whatever reason, said no. Wasn't that the case?
I don't recall. I don't know if it was the Final Fantasy MMO when the initial
It
one
was
that
the
came out.
MMO.
Okay, it was the MMO.
Right.
That's
Was it
what I
11?
remember. Okay.
So I don't specifically recall, but yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to the issue of you don't need to play ball when you're winning.
Exactly. So again, I know it sucks from the gamer perspective because I get it. Like I want crossplay. I'd love to play with, you know, my Sony guys in any type of competitive environment or what have you and be on the same service. Like that is cool. So that this bug that was discovered by Fortnite, which was accidentally unlocked, you know, it was cool to see these guys going at it. And I think even Phil made a comment. He said that the Fortnite devs should keep the bug on so that these guys can play with each other. And I think that's awesome. But at the same time, I'm not justifying what Sony's doing. I'm just saying I understand as the market leader, they not necessarily want to play ball with Microsoft and give these guys any type of what they may feel as a perceived advantage or, you know,
promotion,
play nice.
a cross promotion, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at with it as far as crossplay. I would love it to happen. I would love Sony to open up, but I understand why they might not want to do that. But what do the rest of the Lords think about this?
I think it's something that would be very beneficial. But, you know, and when it comes down to it, you know, Lord Kabatsu said crossplay between Destiny would be awesome. Oh, I agree.
I agree.
And, you know, I want to take it a little bit further. If they would make crossplay on Destiny 2 and, you know, permanently, I want Osiris and I want I haven't played it. What's the new one called?
What, Trials of the Nine?
Trials of the Nine. I played it one time. I want Trials of the Nine to be on Xbox or PlayStation, and the other one to be on the other one. And once a month, like they Iron Banner, they're facing each other.
Oh, that'd be hot. That'd be hot. Lord Bill, any dreams of crossplay in the future? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah,
you can speak in the political speak. It's okay.
I think that there's two elements to it. It's what gamers would like to see, and what are the realities of the business.
Yes.
We did just release the Better Together update to Minecraft, which is already sort of a phenomenon on multiple platforms.
Yeah, and I honestly thought that was probably the biggest announcement that was at E3 is the fact that two platforms are working together on one game.
Yeah, and if you take here's what I'd say: if you take the consoles themselves out of the conversation, right? Like my son plays Minecraft. He actually did his first esports tournament last year, and his friends all play it. But one of them's only got iPad. One of them's got it on PC. Obviously, my son has it on everything. And it's a challenge for them, and they don't have necessarily the brand identity around the place they play it. They have a brand identity around the game, and so businesses have to do what's best for their bottom line.
Yes,
and it makes the conversation more complex.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I totally hear where you're coming from. Lord King, what do you feel about this whole crossplay thing?
I think that's Phil's end game.
Everything is Phil's end game to
Phil for president.
Listen, if you don't want to believe it, watch what he's doing. You just got to peep through the hourglass. I mean, he's been a proponent for the PC. He understands the PC model. Remember, it's all an ecosystem in Microsoft. Okay, so if he's telling you to play on PC, yes, please play through the Windows 10 store. Okay, so you got to understand he's wanting to merge these worlds, and it will bolster the Windows store to the point that if you're playing through Windows Play Anywhere, he's bringing that closer together. He's bridging that gap. So yeah, is it a great thing? Yeah, I don't care. More gamers? Yeah, come on in. I don't care. It doesn't affect me.
What about the Sony aspect?
Sony is not going to get down.
Right.
Sony's not going to get down. Their service suck, so they're not going to get down. All right. They have too much problems over there on that side of the fence. When they can fix those servers over there, listen, I have no problem with their system. I have no problem with their games. I think their games are great. Do I have a problem with their infrastructure as far as their internet servers and everything else? Yes, I do.
Okay.
Do you know how many messages I get a month telling me that we've been hacked? I need to change my password.
Yeah.
You know what I do? I will delete my account with you guys, and
Done.
I play regularly on Xbox, so I never get that message from Xbox ever. Not one time do I get, yo, bro, change your password. Things got funky over here. What?
See, because they don't have a Lord Bill that started with the security infrastructure. They don't have that.
I will say one thing though. I have been usually. Sometimes when I log in, they ask me like on my Xbox to change my password, but it hasn't happened in a long time. So
Gotcha.
I've never got that.
No, I hear what you're saying, but from a security standpoint, you have your concerns.
Yeah, I have concerns. Huh? Listen,
that's an understatement, apparently.
Yes. If I will have to give a credit card with those guys, I will go and get one of those prepaid cards out of the store. There's no way I trust any information over there. So, but Microsoft, yeah, I really do. So, but the PC gaming with Microsoft, yes, that is very viable. That is the way to go. That is fantastic. If you can get that large set community and they're very passionate over with that passionate Xbox community, and we can go at it. And like Lord Addict says, have Iron Banner PC against gamers. I mean, come on, that's fantastic. That's a good concept. I love it.
You got with PC though, you have to be careful because of obviously with FPSs, the mouse keyboard is a little bit of advantage. That's a little bit. Okay, so I ain't gonna touch it. We'll leave that for your topic. But if anyone's got anything done on the first part of the Fortnite thing, which is the crossplay, I was gonna move on. Okay, you want to jump in on that, Lord Sov?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think me not being necessarily the biggest multiplayer gamer, but I just think it's a positive thing if they can all at some point get it together in that regard. And I just think it's a positive for gamers in general. Like I was saying before, with kind of the toxicity sometimes around the internet and fanboyism and stuff like that. If you make it the norm where these ecosystems are constantly interacting, I just think it kind of diminishes that somewhat. You're going to have more competition, obviously, but it's going to be more sporting. It won't be necessarily people being negative towards each other because they're constantly playing with each other, constantly in the same kind of sharing spaces together. So that's one. And I think it would also bode well for the industry at large, because I think it would deter companies from making these marketing deals as much, because you have to worry about the game being able to be played across multiple platforms. So the marketing deals would be difficult to sort of give one platform a year's worth of stuff before another platform. It would be perceived as even more anti-consumer. So I think it would serve to really help gaming as a whole, as a community.
Gotcha. All right, fair enough. I'm just going to speed through the second part of this whole Fortnite, because obviously Fortnite has been in the news this week with the whole PUBG fiasco, with the whole battle royale mode. We know PUBG, that's their claim to fame. Just to paint the picture. Obviously they've used, I believe, the Unreal Engine, which Epic has helped out with, and now I believe Fortnite is coming out with a battle royale mode, which the devs of I believe it's Bluehole, or I forgot the name of them exactly, that said, they feel a little bit of a way about them coming out with a quote unquote PUBG mode and actually referencing PUBG in that description. So yeah, real quick, sometimes this is a copycat league as far as video games and stuff like that. Do we feel that PUBG has any leg to stand on?
I don't think it was done with malice. I just think they wanted, their own. I mean, can you really, like, I don't know that aspect like that, but can you really say something is yours when it comes to a certain game feature, like battle royale games?
Yeah, it's a gray one. It's a gray area. I know what you mean, and that's why I don't know morally or legally, what leg they have to stand on. But I do know that they were in close relation with Epic because they worked on them with the engine, right? So that's this gray area where do they have the right to kind of attack them for stating that? And then also, I was gonna say, like I said, with Epic and Fortnite actually saying PUBG and promoting it with their battle royale mode. So I kind of see both sides. Kind of, you know what I mean? It's a tough one, but Lord Sov, Lord King, what do you guys feel?
Let Sov go first.
Yeah, Sov.
I think that's the issue there. The fact that they license Unreal tech to make their game, and then the Unreal guys go and they make a mode in their game that's so similar. Honestly, if you look at the mechanics of both games, they're very different in that. If you're playing the battle royal mode in Fortnite, if somebody's attacking you or something like that, you can build a wall in front of you. It's totally, it changes the mechanics of what this type of battle royal game is. So it's kind of different. But then again, there's similarities in UI and things like that. The whole concept of the Murder Island thing is sort of the same. So I can understand where they're coming from in that regard, because again, it just seems like it's not necessarily the best thing to do when you're getting royalties from this company on their game. So it's it's a funky area to be in, that's for sure. And I don't know what sort of legal merit, a leg to stand on they have in this regard, but I get it. In terms of the copycats, you're going to see a lot of them. That's if their issue is that at large, you can forget about it, because
shout out to Lady Delilah in the chat. She said she thinks PUBG only added fuel by saying something. So it's going to be interesting. Lord King, what do you feel on the PUBG versus Fortnite?
Okay, I think it's kind of messed up if you help them build something, they're using your engine, and then you turn around and you have the feature that they have in there. Now, is that kind of shady? That is completely shady. That's horrible. I mean, it's really messed up. It's a copycat lead, and we all know the problems that Fortnite is having. Is it up to the standards of PUBG's PlayerUnknown? No, it's not. It's not pushing the numbers that they're pushing. So of course, when you're down and you're seeing something that's successful, you're going to reach over and try to emulate that any way possible. Now, this is the problem. You had the inside track. Okay, so you saw them build it, you saw how it went, and you was like, yeah, I got that. And you probably had a little twist on it, like Lord Sovereign said. We're able to do this in our game. Okay, so imitation is just the most sincerest form of flattery, and okay, maybe they'll sue. I don't know. But just like she said in the chat, by them talking about it and highlighting it, they put more emphasis on it. And maybe some people that weren't looking at Fortnite said, "Oh, I can get a PUBG experience over there." and they went that way.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
So personally, I don't have a problem with it as far as that goes, because again, if it's well and it's done well on another platform and you're trying to get a leg up and you're trying to get sales and stuff like that, you're going to exhaust every avenue to make your game successful because they're closing dev houses like at a rapid pace. So if you're trying to stay relevant and viable in this cantankerous environment, you're going to do whatever you got to do. So.
Yeah, I mean, I recall a situation where, remember when the whole, 4v1 craze started with Evolve, and I've seen a lot of games, doing that copycat kind of thing. Just real quick, I want to give it to Lord Bill. I don't want to get him in trouble, but I just was going to ask Lord Bill as far as like, have you seen situations maybe similar in the past? And I was going to ask if, in reference to those kind of competitions or similarities, and if any legal things can be taken, or if have you ever seen anything similar in the past coming up in the industry?
Well, I mean, even outside the industry, anybody can sue anybody, right? Just get the court costs. Here's what I'll say. PUBG is a big partner. We've worked with them for a long time as a company, and so as a company man, I have a perspective there. I actually have a really good friend who worked with me at Xbox Store and is now a producer on Fortnite, and we were in the Marine Corps together. Nice. So I'm just going to abstain because there's no way I can say anything about that.
I feel you. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Side. No, that's good. That's good. That's all I wanted to hear. That's cool. So we felt on this whole situation. PUBG, hopefully these guys can work it out, and both games can be successful. There's a lot riding, especially with PUBG, and we definitely excited for PUBG on the Microsoft side, as an exclusive and time or whatever it may be. But the game seems huge on the PC market, and we're excited. So we're going to move on, and Lord King, want to talk about lights, camera, action with Microsoft. We got.
Yes. I would like to start off by saying RIP to Kinect.
Moment of silence.
Yeah, we've known you well, my dear friend, and your time with us has come to an end.
Oh my God. You see what I deal with?
Because shots has been fired in your direction, and I believe they are lethal, brother. Microsoft has debuted a feature for those people that are fortunate enough to be in the alpha member circle. The feature is you're using plug and play cameras for Microsoft apps, which is Skype and Mixer. Now, I know you probably say that's nothing. Well, the fact that you have to buy a piece for the Xbox One X to put your Kinect in, that's a barrier. Some people don't want to make the phone call. Some people have Kinect sitting in the corner and they don't really care about getting an extra piece to hook up to a system that they have. A lot of people don't want to do extra steps to get one thing done, but a plug and play. So the fact that they're doing this and they see the communities that do Twitch and live streaming, and they're pushing Mixer very hard to be used across the world competitively. And the plug and play feature, this is the death knell for the Kinect, and I want to know how you guys feel about it. And back to Lord Mikey Barr's proclamation that mouse and keyboard is coming. This X is ushering in the blurred lines between PC and console ever so slightly in Phil's grand vision. I want to know how you guys feel about this new tech that they're debuting for the alpha member circle.
Let's get it to Lord Bill from the standpoint of the testing of like the USB cameras and things like that for Microsoft apps like Mixer and Skype, and what he can possibly talk about or give us some insight on, if possible. Lord Bill.
Well, I mean, I'm part of the platform team, and so, but in some cases we all work on our own features and we all work on our own feature set. What I would say is Mixer's been a great addition to the console, and having them come into the fold from the standpoint of all of a sudden anybody could stream anything. And they could just jump right in. And prior to that, PC was really the dominant platform, still is. But the barrier to entry is higher because you have to have a PC, you have to have stuff set up so that you can broadcast. And all of a sudden, anybody with an Xbox and a Kinect was able to jump into this. That doesn't mean it's always good quality content, but anybody can get involved. And I do think that I was thrilled to see the announcement about the other USB cameras being supported, because now you just increase people's ability to engage. And I think that, look, the Kinect is an expensive piece of hardware. It's got a lot of high tech capabilities over and above what you would use it for as a webcam. And so having some functionality become available to other customers who haven't jumped into the Kinect side is great. At the same time, the Kinect continues to be a great console component, because you can do nothing if you have it set up and immediately become a broadcaster who can stream yourself as well. There are times where I see my kids get online and start streaming their gameplay, and I have to text my wife to clean up the house. We're gonna watch, and then she yells at him, and then all of a sudden the camera goes dead.
Nice.
But I mean, it really is opening it up so that anybody can become a game streamer. And,
it's an amazing starter.
Speaking of streaming a little bit, I gotta tease you on this. I love the NHL 18 stream, full hockey gear. Lord Bill went out there, played some EA NHL. I saw you. I had to give you a shout out. That was hardcore.
Yeah, thank you. I did it twice. I did it in my goalie gear for the 3-on-3. We had the EA producers come on, and they demoed this feature for 3-on-3 for the first time. And I actually played in my goalie gear, so I was playing with my catcher and my blocker, and that was impossible. Plus, it's just hot in that studio because you got all the gear on and they got the lights. So when I came back to do the announce, I did it in just my regular hockey gear.
Nice.
I just played, and you know what? Because we got a big controller, I could actually play with my gloves on.
Yeah, how did you play with your glove? That was what I was gonna say. I saw you with the glove. Like, how is he even able to have the dexterity to play with the controller?
Not well is the key.
That was awesome. So because of this mixer stuff, would you ever consider getting into streaming? I know, Mike Ibarra, he's big on that. Would you ever consider it?
I love doing it. The challenge is twofold. One, I don't know who would watch me because I'm awful at most of the games that I play. But I love doing it, and in fact, I've got something special for next week.
Ooh, okay. So you got it. If that's the case, you got to give out that mixer handle so the guys will get everyone to follow you and start paying attention, man. Because I thought
I will tweet out as we get closer to the time.
Awesome. That is awesome. All right, what do the Lords got on the rest of the camera stuff as far as what's going on? Let's Lord Attic, what do you feel about this?
Cool options, but that's about all.
So you got all right, Lord Sov, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree with both Lord Bill and Lord King in the fact that the line is being blurred more and it's giving more accessibility to more people. We got to remember that the vast majority of Xbox owners now don't have a Kinect.
That is true. That is true.
So the fact that anybody could just go into a Best Buy and buy any third-party USB camera and be off and running if they want to start streaming, that's fantastic. And again, that part of gaming has expanded so much over the last few years that look at us here just doing a podcast where a couple of years ago that wasn't something that we were even considering. So it's just like it goes back to what I said before about how that original vision for the Xbox One as being that one box, it keeps moving closer to that vision. And just the fact that you're allowing third party anything onto the system just makes it more cost effective for the consumer to go out and purchase and spend what they want to spend on a piece of hardware, as opposed to the Kinect, which is it is an advanced piece of hardware, but it works specifically in that ecosystem and nowhere else.
Correct.
So I think this is fantastic.
Good point.
This is fantastic.
Good point, Lord Sov. Y'all jump in on that. Yeah, I think that I'm with you 1,000%, Lord Sov. I think it's great. I think it provides options. And I mean, look, I still have my Kinect. Great piece of tech, 1080p cam, the motion sensor, and all that stuff. But like you said, the key point is it was locked into just the Xbox. And also the key point was that a lot of people who've now subsequently picked up a Microsoft, an Xbox have picked it up during the S era, right? And that's where Kinect was not a mandatory part of the bundle. So to have that option is really cool coming into the debut of the Xbox One X, getting to see, the services being used, the Skype and mixers is huge right now, seeing that thing blow up and giving everybody that ability, to be able to do it. I think it's really, really cool. And to see, what I want to commend Microsoft is to see them be flexible, because a lot of times you see companies, when it's a proprietary product, they just want to push said product, don't want to give you the option of a quote unquote competitor, so to speak, you know what I mean, with another camera and things of that nature. So I think that's really cool to see. So I'm excited about it. And I thought it was a good topic. Lord King, you got anything else to finish off lights, camera, action before we move on?
No, it's just the fact that I think is a fantastic idea. Instead of, if a lot of these thoughts was pushed to the table in the beginning, I know they invested a lot in the Kinect, and I know they wanted to be successful because it showed that it sold 13 million units before, and they felt that if we can get these units in the box, they could see the value, and I see that mindset, but also it sold 13 million units on its own. So if you would have, had it as a separate peripheral, and you can upgrade as you go along, and the price of the Xbox would have been at the same price of the PlayStation or lower, then you wouldn't have been in the big hole that you were in, and it didn't feel like everything was being forced. It made it seem like everything was being forced when it actually wasn't. But now, like I said, Lord Phil, changing the narrative. He removed it out of the box, and he gave you options. He gave you the option that you could use your old Kinect, or now you can use your cam. Go to the store, buy cam, man. So all these things is being possible under the new philosophies, and the new philosophies is panning out. He's working and making things happen.
Nice. Yeah, man. The vision is there, and we're all excited about it. Like I said, flexibility and options, always a good thing. So we're going to move on to the final topic. Lord Sov, this is you. We're going to talk about TGS. What's been going on?
Yeah, so TGS, actually, I think today is the final day of TGS proper. But Sony had a press conference early on before the actual show started, and Nintendo had some announcements and whatnot. So I just wanted to, it's been kind of low key. TGS hasn't been as big in recent years as it was a long time ago. But I think considering this year, how many great Japanese games we got, I was hoping to see some really big announcements coming out of Japan. And it kind of conservative, like nothing too crazy. But again, I know Sony's going to have something bigger towards the end of the year. They still have Paris Games Week, and they still have PSX, and I'm sure we'll get some sort of Nintendo Switch direct before the end of the year again. So we'll get more info in that regard. So let me start off with Nintendo. Like I said, they had a direct a few weeks ago, so the bulk of the information that they wanted to sort of get out to the public was in that direct. So what we got from TGS is that they showed some more Fire Emblem Warriors gameplay. The game, again, if you're a Dynasty Warriors guy, that Muso type of game, the game by all accounts is beautiful, kind of frantic. It's definitely a showpiece for what the Switch could do. It's running beautifully. Again, if that's your type of game, I guess we're getting that at the beginning of next year.
Okay.
Same Attack on Titan 2 is coming to the Switch from Koei Tecmo, and that looks pretty. If you're a big fan of the manga and the anime, well, that's coming next year.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. The trailer looked fire.
Yeah, the trailer looks fantastic. That gameplay, from what I've heard, like the gameplay is really cool. And the grappling stuff that you do when you're swinging from Titan to Titan is supposed to be pretty cool. So if you're into that, I heard the game is pretty decent. Dragon Quest Builders is finally got shown for the Switch, and this is a Minecraft-like game in the Dragon Quest universe that kind of did gangbusters when it came out on, I believe it was on Vita. And PS, don't quote me on that, PlayStation 4. But it has those Minecraft sensibilities in the Dragon Quest universe. So I think it's going to do very well on the Switch when it finally comes over. Another thing that came out of Japan was the fact that Metroid sold well. Yeah. Considering how Metroid usually sells in Japan, it actually did pretty well. I think they sold through something like 70% of their stock. They sold about 30,000 copies. I think they had about 43 that they made for the initial launch window. So the fact that Metroid is doing well in Japan bodes well all around the world. Hopefully, again, we're getting Prime at some point. Hopefully, we'll get this remake onto the Switch also.
No,
Yep.
it won't come. You will
Lord
not
King's
get
got
it.
his 3DS.
You will
He's
go
happy
out
right
and
now.
you will buy a 3DS and you will support the game in its original
They keep-
format, sir.
I can't say that I disagree with that. Like it's probably not going to happen anytime soon if it ever does. So I won't disagree with that. They showed Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2, which both look pretty good. They're running very well. It seems like they were based off of either the Xbox 360 or PS3 ports, or the ports that came to Xbox One. Just recently came to Xbox One and PS4, and just downgraded. The games look like they ran beautifully, so that's pretty good.
Gotcha.
What else do we have? Square Enix showed Lost Sphere, that RPG from the guys who made I Am Setsuna, and classic sort of JRPG turn-based stuff. So that looks fantastic. Absolutely. And then there was some Doom running on the Switch.
There was some Doom, I heard. Some Bethesda loving. Talk to me.
So we talked about this last week about what I hope for the game and what the reality of the game is. So this is the reality of the game. So wait, hold on. I would call this a bend the knee stalemate. But we'll do that.
So what's the bet? Let's go.
There was no bet really, but my hope that it was 60 frames per second. The game is gonna run at 30 frames per second. But the thing is, the mistake that I made is that I equated frame rate with speed of the game. The game is still fast, right? The game is still fast. But smoothness is a different story. The game runs smoothly, but it's running at 30 frames per second. Just the overall speed of the game is still fast. So the game is going to run 720p in handheld and dock mode. So there's no up-resing.
Okay.
There's no up-resing in dock mode. It's what you have to do. Now, if you look at that game, I played through that entire game. I've watched nearly a half hour footage of that game. That's Doom. It's Doom. Like, the only concessions that have been made, obviously, is in the detail of the graphics, which still looks fantastic. But the game plays like Doom.
Okay.
And again, I don't think this will be anybody's primary version, or should be any primary way of playing Doom. Hopefully, you'll have it on a PS4 or Xbox One or a PC and play it there.
But it's cool that Nintendo has the option there, and that Bethesda is showing that support for the time.
And by all accounts, it is a fantastic port. And I expect the same from Wolfenstein.
Lord King wants to snicker and jump in. Continue, Lord King.
He doesn't want to jump in. He just wants to snicker.
I don't want to jump in at all.
Okay. You made your point. Okay, I see where you go.
I'll be in the segment in a second. I wanted him to flesh out his point, and I just couldn't help but I have to start muting my mic because I don't like it when it's done to me. So I do apologize, sir, and I bend the knee on the fact that I really didn't think that it would look like that. To be honest with you, it looks pretty decent. I saw what Digital Foundry did on the game. I know exactly what it was running at, so I kind of had an inside track and laughing at it ahead of time. But like you said, it's nobody's primary, but for somebody, it is their primary.
Gotcha.
So, for that somebody's that's out there that only has a Switch, that only could get a Switch because their Wi-Fi or whatever in the area doesn't work good or whatever, and this system is catered and tailor-made to you, I say kudos that they even got the game running for them.
On it. Facts.
It actually works. So me snickering is just me coming from a high-end PC or Xbox One.
Premium experience.
Right, yeah. Standing in my golden tower, I'm looking down upon the peasants.
Real quick, I had a question for Lord Bill. I know I'm not going to put on the spot, but as far as like the Tokyo Game Show stuff, does any of that stuff interest you? Or actually, from a Microsoft standpoint, have you ever got a chance to actually go to one of those events? And I was just curious.
No, so I've never been to Tokyo Game Show. I've been to E3. I've been to China Joy, obviously for the console launch, which is just a staggering event. The mass of humanity there, all dressed up in costumes, is in eight unair conditioned aircraft carrier or aircraft hangars.
Wow!
But it's I watched the show just not as an employee, but as a fan. There's a couple of series that I really like. I liked the Atlas is one of my favorite. The Persona and the Shin.
Oh man, my Lloyd Kaibatsu's smiling in his chat right now. He's a huge Persona fan.
Those are great series, and so I watch it as a fan. That's the kind of stuff that interests me.
Nice. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So, Lord Addict, did you get a chance? I'm sorry. Let's all finish, and then I'll give it to Lord Addict.
Oh yeah, just quickly. And so Sony kind of had an interesting showing, because you know they're going to have something at Paris Games Week, and you know there's going to be PSX at the end of the year. So with Sony, basically, hold on one second. I had my notes in front of me, and I lost it for a moment.
So good,
But the coolest thing to come out of Sony was this game called Left Alive, that basically has kind of these Metal Gear sort of people around Metal Gear, people around Armored Core, people around Xenoblade who worked on these type of games coming together to make a game that, you know, kind of has Metal Gear-esque sensibilities. They're calling it a third. It kind of fits into that mold that we've always talked about, that third person over the shoulder action adventure / game with, you know, RPG sensibilities. They just kind of throw it in a blender and out comes a game. So this is from Square Enix. And the cool thing about it is that you have Shoji Shinkawa, who was the character designer behind Metal Gear. And anybody who's seen any sort of Metal Gear art or covers, you know what that is, and you know that style. So he's handling the character creations for this game. But then you have people around it from Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, people who worked on Mobile Suit Gundam, and like I said, Xenoblade Chronicles. So they showed a little bit of gameplay in the trailer. And again, it just looks like a third-person sort of action game. But the cool part about it is that it just seems like it almost seems, and we'll talk about this in a second, it just seems like people are sort of not afraid to go back to the Kojima well, and maybe making something in that vein. So it'd be interesting how this game's supposed to come out 2018. We'll see how it's received overseas, and we'll see if it's something that we'd be excited to get over on this side. So it's just interesting, just the people around it, and to see them sort of trying to emulate that experience and go back to that. So apart from that, like, they showed some Detroit stuff, Become Human.
I love that. That game looks so good. That's what I'm waiting for. That's
yeah, absolutely. They finally gave a release date of January for Monster Hunter World, and I don't know if it's a worldwide release or just a Japanese release. But again, that's a game that and Lord King will agree. Like we tried to get into on Nintendo platforms, and it just didn't happen. With this game being as pretty as it is, like it. And sort of streamlined in a way to sort of bring in new players, I can see it becoming big if again that gateway for new players is sort of easy to get into and not obtuse like the older games have been. They've shown more stuff of Shadow of Colossus, a little bit more of that. Dragon's Crown, that 2D side scroll, they have like a 4K version coming out. They call it Dragon's Crown Pro. So that's pretty cool. And honestly, Zone of the Enders. I almost forgot about that. Zone of the Enders.
I remember the
Zone
old one.
of the Enders. Yeah, so Zone of the Enders coming back. That's what I talk about with Kojima. They're not sort of afraid to go back to that well. So Zone of the Enders is coming back remastered, and they're also making a full-fledged VR version. And that's cool. Because Zone of the Enders is a pretty fast game. It's not a slow-moving mech game, so it'd be interesting to see how they incorporate that into VR to not make it pukey. So that's going to be interesting to see. And
on a Sony platform, or is that for the Vive and Oculus? Because
that is PSVR. So far, it's PSVR. And that leads me to my next point, which is what they showed a decent amount of VR stuff. They went more into depth with all the supermassive games that were coming out, the Bravo team, the prequel to Until Dawn. So for anybody who's kind of been on the fence with PSVR, I think more and more they're showing that they're willing to invest in big experiences, more smaller experiences, different types of experiences. I know by the end of this year, I'm sure we'll see more package deals for the PSVR. I know right now they finally started incorporating the camera in the package, which is something that's big for people because the camera on its own is like $50. So they're starting to make better package deals, and I assume that for the holidays is going to be even more. So yeah, anybody who's been on the fence about PSVR, I think they're showing a commitment, which is great from Sony when it comes to, you know, things that are not their primary console. They've always been sort of hit or miss with, you know, how they support these things after they come out. So I think they're invested in PSVR, and it shows.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of stuff was announced. I'm glad you gave us the recap because I definitely missed a lot of it. All my Destiny playing and stuff. I didn't get a chance to really catch what's going on. But no, this was really cool. And real quick, Lord King, I don't know if you got a chance to see. Did you get a chance to watch any of it, or just catch? Yeah. So Lord Sov, thanks for the recap, bro. It's like you.
Yeah. Lord Sovereign just brought me up to speed on it.
Thank you.
I had to pull myself away. Everybody's been playing Destiny. I had to pull myself away. I say, because otherwise, like you're like in a cave and you're not paying attention to anything that's going on.
That's what Destiny does. What's up?
Exactly. One other thing for us Sega heads. Virtual On is coming back. Anybody play Virtual On?
I love Virtual On.
What?
Yeah, Virtual On, and I think I know maybe Lord Bill can speak to this. The Oratorio Tangram. There were two games that came to Xbox Live Arcade on the 360, like remasters of the original games, the Dreamcast games and the Saturn games. These are like one-on-one mech fighting games that we initially saw when we talked about earlier about how the arcade was the testing ground for all this new tech. When you went into an arcade and you saw Virtual On for the first time and you saw that cabinet, you lost your mind. You just lost your mind because it was this huge imposing thing. And the gameplay was fantastic. So it's coming back, but it's a little weird how it's coming back. They're associating it with kind of an obscure for us, Japanese sort of manga. So it's about these students who have superpowers. So they're incorporating Virtual On. It's essentially Oratorio Tangram, I think, with this manga. And so it's students in robot form battling one-on-one. But again, it's back, and it's cool to see that it's back.
Nice. Well, Bill,
I don't know if you guys know, we released the 360 BC version last week, but it's Japan.
Oh, really?
It's a Japan title. So those sort of fly under the radar. We've done a half dozen or so Japan only releases for Xbox owners in Japan, and Virtual On was one we just put back in.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
That's awesome. Those games are fantastic.
That's a wild moment because I want it.
Yeah, no, that was definitely. I have to do what I have to do to get that.
Yeah, there were many a nights lost to battling on the Dreamcast and Virtual On. So yeah,
absolutely. All right, well, we're gonna wrap this thing up soon. We got. I know Lord Bill has his bears to attend to. But during the the Glennon era.
But Earthworm Jim, the quarterback.
Oh my God. I love that. But real quick, we got two things we want to get into. One, we had the new poll that we want to shape up. So it's the new poll this week. We're going to put this up on the Iron Law Podcast Twitter very soon. It's going to be, with developers like Square with Final Fantasy 15, Take-Two with NBA 2K, and Bethesda with Doom/Wolfenstein 2, attempting to be creative and porting these AAA titles over to the Switch. Does lower frame rate or resolution discourage you from buying these titles? So that's going to be the question. The answer is going to be A, yes, you don't want the Lord King Gimp experience. Or B, no, we want more portable AAA titles. So that's going to be the question. It's going to go up on ILP Twitter soon. Make sure you guys rock the vote. I want to give Lord Attic a question he had for Lord Bill. Lord Attic, you had some questions for Lord Bill before we close out?
I just had one quick question, Lord Bill. Since this is an Xbox podcast, what's your favorite Xbox game?
Oh, it's like asking me what my favorite child is. Depends on who's in the room. So there's a set of games. Obviously, the original Halo will always have a special place. I'll tell you a story about it. When I was working, this is when I was still doing the telecom work. I was in one of the buildings we had. There was also a partner lab, so we would come in and partners would build technology showcases. And so we had a fake living room, and one of the first things we did was put an Xbox in it. And then me and a couple of my buddies, every day after work, we would go order pizza. We sit down, we play four-screen multiplayer on that console. And then eventually a couple other.
And you gave everyone the work, right?
What's that?
And you gave everyone the work, right? You won every game.
Well, no, it was an intense and fair competition. But so then eventually so there was Exchange was in the same building. A couple of those guys walked by. They're like, "Hey, can we play?" We're like, "Sure." So we set them up in a lab where they had it on a projector. And then over time, like every night, different product groups started hearing about it and they'd come play us. And we were holding court. We were beating everybody because we played all the time. Well, so one of my buddies who worked at Microsoft.com, said, "Hey, I got some friends who want to play." We're like, "Great, bring them over." And we got destroyed. It wasn't even one of those things. Like, we're riding high. We've beaten everybody for weeks. And it turned out that they were the testers from Bungie. So that game will always have a special place because there were many hours burned with some of my best friends. I also am, and this isn't corporate speak, like I love the Borderlands series. I was so thrilled when they were one of our launch partners. I feel bad with their latest trials. I think that the fans have said that they want Borderlands games, and whatever they decide to do in the future. But there are so many, and it just depends on. Overwatch is obviously one for me right now, but I mean, it's like asking me what's your favorite movie or what's your favorite song. It just kind of depends on the mood I'm in.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So tough to choose. You had a question? Another question? What? I was saying.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you guys. Did you, maybe not. Lord Bill might not know because he doesn't really follow the Destiny community, but Gathalia, he tweeted. I don't know if it was someone from over there at Gear, but he tweeted. Someone was like, "How many retweets and likes is it gonna take me to get Borderlands on the Nintendo Switch?" And the dude was like 1 million, and he commented, he's like, "Consider it done."
Yeah, that's the goal. It would be great in that space. I mean, Borderlands is such a fun cooperative game, so it's just like to see it come back would be awesome. Just me personally. But that's cool, man. But Lord Bill, we want to thank you, man, for really taking the time out of your schedule. We know you guys are busy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We really appreciate you, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you every E3, and hopefully we see you at the next one again, man. So thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's so cool to get to interact with people who use the stuff that you build, and you guys are the reasons we do it.
Much appreciated, man. Thanks a lot. Cool. So we're gonna also want to let the people know where they can find you, because obviously you're gonna be doing some mixer stuff going on soon. So we want you to promote all that good stuff here on the ILP. So you got the mixer page up and everything. Where can the people find you?
So the easiest way to find me is at my Twitter at WC Stillwell. And then I put everything we do, because sometimes I'm doing them on my account, sometimes I'm doing with corporate accounts because we're promoting something. So just if you follow that, I will put everything I do on that.
Nice. And are we allowed to talk about the gamer tag, or we keeping that under wraps?
No, you can talk about the gamer tag. It's now in promotional material, so
nice.
I can't avoid it. It's Wall of Bill, and it's spaces in between all of them.
That's right. Say it with your chest. The Great Wall.
Right.
My man. Lord Bill, it's an absolute pleasure. So we're going to close this thing out soon. Get our outros popping. Lord Addict, you got stuff going on with the Gaming Addict show? What's going on with you? Where can people find you?
I'm trying to do stuff with Gaming Addict, but I'm telling you, like, this Destiny 2 is too bad. Like, I even told myself I'm going to put out videos. I put out a video yesterday. Ironically, it was Destiny 2 related, and I was like, I'm gonna put it out today. And I'm sitting here like before the podcast, I'm like, but I can run some Crucible real quick. I mean, it's an issue, but I do want to announce that I'm five subscribers away from 1,000. So definitely.
Oh yeah, please sub the Gaming Addict, please. Yeah, let's get them to 1,000, guys.
So appreciate all that support. I do want to thank Lord Bill for coming on again. It was definitely really appreciative. I know with the statue that you have, sometimes doing stuff like this can be a little iffy, and I appreciate you giving us that trust and coming on here, especially live. Live is a big thing. Yeah. But I definitely want to take the time to thank him again.
Absolutely. Lord Sov, where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lord Bill, for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. Anytime we get to talk to people associated with the platforms that we love, it's fantastic. So thanks again for coming by. And the fine people could find me on PSN and Xbox Live at BX Sovereign. And
will you be online though? That's the question. Will you be online?
Depends on what I'm doing, right?
Oh my god, the selfish gamer.
The selfish gamer, living up to the moniker.
No doubt, no doubt. Cool. And Lord King, where can people find you, sir?
Oh, I'd like to say thank you for Lord Bill for coming through, and the fact that he was sharing his gaming experience, and I can go all the way back with you, brother, on all of that stuff was fantastic.
Yeah, all that went straight over my head.
It really wasn't.
That's why the young generation needed to be educated today.
It really wasn't meant for you, young buck.
I ain't gonna lie. Like I knew the moment that went, I kind of gave it a little bit of an evaluation. I'm like, yeah, this is not ending anytime soon. Crucible, here I come.
See what you had to realize at that point in time was you were supposed to soak that in and say, "Man, I missed out." And you were supposed to go seek that out. You're supposed to get a backpack and go find yourself an arcade.
Fam. I'm sorry.
Oh my god! You see what we did with the young generation, Lord Bill? You see what we did?
Right? This is like we used to have to walk uphill in the snow both ways in our quarters to play games.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it's like.
This guy
like just that sentence there. You really think I wanted any part of that?
Oh my god! You got to do your history to see where gaming got to.
The lazy youth. Anyway, you can find me at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Most importantly, you can find me at PlayStation Network at Xbox 360 Lover 01. All right, thank you so much.
No, of course, Incognito here. We spend that gaming realness on the ILP. Always telling you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Thanks again, Lord Bill, for coming through, dropping all those gems, great stories. You are welcome back on the ILP anytime to stop through and talk gaming with us. We really appreciate you taking time out that busy schedule. And I just want to do some real quick things to pay the bills. Make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe to the ILP on all the Inner Circle Network media outlets, including YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, and also that amazing TICCGN Patreon. The link's in the description. All that support really helps the Lord. It is much appreciated. We've got more things cooking up for you guys. It's going to be fun. I know it's 1 o'clock. I see the chats like football. I know. Get your fantasy lineups together. We're going to get this thing out of here. But again, thanks, Lord Bill, for coming through. And we are going to end this show. Peace.